Hi YouTubers, welcome back to Vintage Fashion Hat Chat. I'm Norma Shepherd, the director of the Mobile Millinery Museum and the author of 5 books on vintage fashion, including 1,000 hats. As always, you'll be happy to know I haven't brought 1,000 with me today, but in fact we do have probably over 3,500 now cataloged in the museum. But what I want to show you today are a handful of pieces from the 50s and 60s that are quite different. But the one thing they have in common is that they are rhinestone trimmed. And there's a reason for that. In the 1950s and 60s, rhinestone jewelry was very popular. So if you were going out for the evening on a dressy occasion and were wanting to wear your rhinestone jewelry, just a nod to that might be quite appropriate on your hat. This was not a time when women were wearing a lot of hat pins. That was from an earlier era. And so the rhinestone served quite nicely, and of course some of the Aurora Borealis stones as well. So I'm going to start with this feathered piece. This is circa 1960, and it's an all-over cream-colored feather piece with the, almost like a half buckle or a representation of a brooch. But this is not a brooch. It does not have a pin on the back. These jewelry pieces were made specifically to be sewn onto garments or accessories like hats. So you jewelry collectors out there might want to look for some of these as well. They're often quite lovely. It's just sweeps across this satin band. Now the hat itself is on a felt form. It's shaped helmet-like. And then the feathers are added, and I think probably you can best see the label if we turn this over. This is Frank Palma original Star Lady. Now, in keeping with the feather theme, I want to show you a little cocktail hat circa 1960. It's a fascinator, actually. The base of it is a velvet covered hairband, so this would just fit over a nice sleek hairdo. There are some channels of rhinestones that encircle this band, and of course you have the wonderful dotted face, face covering this lovely feminine veil. And then pink ostrich feather fronds off to the side. Very dramatic, asymmetric look. There's no label on this, but it's quite a little deer, and it may have been a custom piece. So just picture this with a martini in one hand and cigarette holder in the other, circa 1960, and you would be a great hit at the cocktail party. Now another cocktail piece in dramatic black is this one, and this one sits sort of over the brow, and we have a wonderful aigrette, quite stiff, and then some veiling, of course, and then the rhinestones in this beautiful pattern. So again, with rhinestone jewelry, I'll just sort of pretend I'm wearing this hat. It would really pull your look together. Now I'll talk about my hat at the end of this video. But another one, and I think of this, I call these little Lucy hats. You see so many of these from the 1950s. And if you're a fan of I Love Lucy, like I am, you watch the old reruns and you see Lucy and Ethel get up to all kinds of mischief in sweet little hats like this. These were all the rage in the 1950s. Very simple. You could wear this over almost any style of hat or hair, particularly if your hair was, tied up or swept back. This one is navy straw, banded in the blue velvet, and then there's some rhinestone trim on either side. And a very feminine, youthful bow at the center back. A really sweet hat. This is a New York label Leslie Monroe. And that's a good label to watch for if you're a collector. Now here's another little one, and I may have shown this hat in another video for a different reason. Look at this wonderful shaped sort of volcano shaped crown. It's really quite wonderful. And this one is draped dramatically with the contrast fabric over the straw, and then you have some AB stones here, and then a wonderful line of them here. Do we have a label? Gertrude, Montreal Milliner. And you can see the inside is supported with this wire frame, which would hug your head and keep your hat from going anywhere. Two more to show you. Toward the later 60s, hats got a little higher, a little more flamboyant. This red one is might have been a shocker. You know, for decades and back into the Victorian time, red hats weren't necessarily seen very much. It was considered that, you know, if you were wearing a red hat, maybe you weren't wearing any knickers, a little bit racy. But as we move into the 60s, of course, and the skirts rise and the hats get taller, and then we get these vibrant colors, things change. So this is a nice ribbon straw that's been looped and looped and looped and looped, and just simply, you wouldn't want to do too much to a hat like this, simply trimmed with some satin with medium-sized rhinestones. And again, that would complement your rhinestone jewelry. There is no label in this one, and might have even been a department store hat. Now the last one I want to show you is a big favorite of mine. This is quite different altogether. This is a very large cartwheel style, a beautiful pink, as you can see, very shallow crown, wide brim, beautifully trimmed with green feathers, pink flowers, and every now and then you get a dot of a rhinestone on these velvet blossoms that almost give the effect of dewdrops. So that's a very clever piece, beautifully made. Actually, this piece was donated to the museum. We love our donors. We get the stories with the hats. This was donated from the Aileen Banting collection. Aileen Banting was a prominent portrait artist from Hamilton, Ontario, and she dressed to the nines at gallery openings, etc. This one is a Flo-Raye. It is a New York style, and you can see the inner crown, which would just hug your head and keep the hat secure. So that's it for my rhinestone trimmed hats today. At some point I will do a video on pearl trimmed hats, and in the meantime I just remind you that I post Mondays and Thursdays. If you've enjoyed this, please hit like, share, subscribe. I will tell you about the hat I'm wearing. This is a little fascinator made by Mobile Millinery Maria Curcic. You can find her online, and I will put a link to her in the description box. She makes beautiful pieces. This is a very simple little fascinator done on a chignon strap, which just goes under your hair, doesn't move, and she often uses vintage trims, which these are little soft pink with yellow center vintage flowers. So there you have it. I wish you all a very happy evening.